It's like anything else, you really feel it. All of a sudden, you're looking, you're bleeding worse than this year. I knew it was bad right as soon as I did it. Good morning and welcome to the Berry County Board of Commissioners Committee of the Whole meeting for October 15th, 2024. If you would please stand for our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Reports from state or county officials. Are there any state or county officials here this morning that would like to address the board? Hearing none, limited public comment at this time. Any member of the public wishing to address the board may do so for up to 3 minutes.
Good morning. Rick Morris, still Harbor Master of the Port Arthur Lake Yacht Club. I wish to remind members and guests, please speak into the microphone and use your outdoor voice. I know I haven't said it in quite a while. My hearing is slightly improving, but I'm really interested in what y'all have to say. So, because I haven't met anybody yet that I couldn't learn something from. So thank you very much. I'm Rick Moore and I support this message.
Thank you. Additional public comment? Hearing none, we will move ahead. The chair would entertain a motion for approval of October 1st, 2024 Committee of the Whole meeting minutes.
So moved. Support.
Motion by Colton, support by Hatfield for approval of the October 1st, 2024 Committee of the Whole meeting minutes. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion carries. I don't see Mr. Yarger here yet. He didn't realize we were going to be fast. I bet he will be here. Is Jeff Hall here? All right, let's move ahead with Mr. Hall. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning. Good morning, Rick.
Jesus.
Windows, old FOC building. You know, this process started actually late 22 when Michael and I, Mr. Administrator Brown and I talked, came up. And so I went out and got some bids, talked about getting local bids. So I reached out to Berkey's Glass. I also reached out to Rose Construction, who does a lot of work for us. Rose did not give me a bid, Berkey's did, and it was for that $95,000. In my emails to Michael, that didn't include any interior work, so I put in a placeholder of 15 to 20K for interior work. So I'm bringing that up to, 120, 25,000. But then you jump forward. That was in, I got the quote from Berkey's in early January, like the 12th. And then we talked back and forth. And then he was kind of, after we kept looking at it, he kind of said, we're just a small shop. Appreciate you, looking at us, but we build a few windows at a time. And we won't be able to do the whole project at once if all of a sudden you want to jump on it. So, and I can appreciate that. I mean, I do a lot of work with those guys, and they do great for the community. They're just, the scale is just not there. They're not built for something like that, I don't think. So I respected that. And so anyway, so then we kind of, nothing really happened for a while. And then I was asked to get some bids, a couple more bids as things kind of ramped up. And so that was in April of this year. And so I went out to the Window Center and Pella Windows out of Grand Rapids, and I got a couple bids, and that's what you see in your packet, those numbers. And so, yeah, as I went through the process and both those companies looked at it several times, I felt like Pella was they were a lot more thorough. And then the Window Center said they, again, had to do it in stages because they were larger, obviously, than the Berkeys or somebody, but they still had other things going and things like that, and they had to do it in stages. So, I mean, as we went through this whole process, and then Pella kept, asking me. They asked me back in July, any update, and they asked me in early September, any updates. So, I mean, I just felt like he was interested in on it, and they came out several times, and, because there's a unique thing where they added on to the second floor, you know, they put those offices on the north side. When you look at the outside of the building, in those tall windows, they had to cover some windows up, so it's gonna be really tricky, and there's some detail to get that back architecturally, you know, visually like we wanted on the outside, but it's not like that. You know, the north side's different than the south side, and so there's some stuff that we're gonna have to go through and things like that. But I just felt like they were very, you know, very thorough in that process. So that's kind of where we got today. Obviously, when I had an email to Michael, and when I sent it to him, and I said, hey, you know, the Berkey thing, I said, this is less than I thought it would be, you know what I mean? And I figured that we would be closer to where we were at, so that's, and again, that was back in April, you know, and here we are, you know, October, so. Anyway, that's kind of the timeline and kind of what happened and how it played out, so questions, comments?
What's, are you still thinking we're gonna need the interior work, 15 to 20,000?
No, Pella's thing includes the interior work, and there's a very detailed quote. If you've looked at the, you know, the quotes are very detailed, and so that's covered. Yeah.
So they'll come in, they'll do the work. Sounds like they'll do it in a relatively short time frame.
Yeah, the window build is about 8 weeks out. I asked him that. I said, if I gave you, you know, from the day I give you a PO, would it be about 8 weeks to build the windows? And then he thought, you know, get going early spring probably, you know what I mean? And maybe even before that. Because here we are, October, right? So it's at December, the holidays, you know, maybe possibly start after the first of the year, you know, close, but more like spring maybe, but,
Okay. Yeah, it seems like we've been talking about the front of the court building for a long time, so we really can't do anything with it until we make this improvement to it, and the windows are the first start of it. There'll be some other modifications and remodeling that's gonna be required to make it usable, but I think we're at that point where we wanna move forward with some of this. Okay.
but if can I add just one more? Yeah, as part of the overall thing, is Eric started the facility assessment. I mean, I started that, I guess, before Eric came and said, you know, we've got some rooftops that are older. You're right, looking at the building holistically, we've made a commitment to keep it, right? So again, windows are that glaring, that low-hanging fruit, if you will, but there are some other things out there that need to be done, but the windows are obviously the most pressing. And so I think it's just a matter of, you know, me continuing to work with Eric on that facilities assessment, and just kind of prioritizing those things as we move forward, so.
Do you foresee a lot to get that building usable?
A lot, not usable, no, I mean, again, we could put people in there today, right? When we moved people out, when it was in this condition essentially, right, the windows, I mean, it was there. But depending how we use the building in the future, who goes in there, what we want to do, obviously, some of the carpet's rough, you know, again, I've got 3 rooftop units, they're 25 years old, right? Now, we're maintaining, they're running, they're going, it's not dire, right, but we need to think about that and plan for that, and so, you know, we've got, you know, a boiler that's old. We've got 3 separate systems in there for heating and cooling, but when you get an old building like that, that's not unusual because it's hard to, you know, run ductwork and things like that in an old building, so that's why we have that. But there's some exterior work that needs to be done on the foundation, but nothing crazy that's, you know, critical, but we just need to stay on top of it. So again, we'll continue to work on that assessment. We'll get that in front of you folks, and that way you can kind of get an idea of what we're talking about, and we'll throw some numbers to it.
Looks like the handicap accessible ramp is in.
Hey, we got a new parking lot, right, and the handicap accessible ramp is in, so that's all good. Yep.
Excellent. Questions from commissioners?
More of a comment. That building's not doing itself or anybody else any good, just sitting empty. It's tough on buildings when nothing is occupied inside of it for some reason. Like, take a look at an old barn out in doesn't have cows anymore. They're falling down. Same with a building. It doesn't have people in it and being used. It just seems like they deteriorate a lot faster. So I think that we need to move forward with this.
Thank you.
When you say some of the windows were kind of covered up when they put more offices upstairs, will there have to be some petitions taken out and then windows brought back, or?
No, I think what we can do is we looked at that, because you looked at it from the inside, and they just basically block those windows up, right? And so we'll have to actually probably break some of that stuff out, right? And kind of put that back in, but it's doable, but it was, they had one of their head installers that's been there for 30 years come out and look at it and say, okay, yep. So, I mean, they've looked at it and they've got a plan, so, yeah. We'll have it, again, architecturally and the outside and visually, it'll look the same, north and south.
Okay. Commissioner Day?
Are the windows white now?
They are, they're
Okay.
painted white,
I couldn't remember what,
they are.
okay.
And again, we have a choice, right? To what you want to do, whether you want to do a bronze with that brick or a white. You know, the apartment complex windows are white, whether you want it to kind of blend in with that or whatever, that's a discussion for another day, but we can, yeah, we have an option there, so.
For the vinyl?
Yeah, yeah.
White vinyl could be.
Well, and these are not vinyl, these are aluminum clad wood
Oh,
windows, because the vinyl, it will not hold up those big windows, it'll say, yeah, so they're, yeah.
I just wondered, historically, if white was the,
Sure, that's what's there now, painted white.
okay.
All right, additional questions? Commissioner Doster?
Do you have an idea how many, I was trying to count the number of windows.
Oh, it was about 40, I apologize, it was around 40, yes,
Okay.
yep.
And are some of those multiple
Yeah, so-
windows
so-
as well then?
Well, it's interesting because how you have to build them, yeah, you know those really tall ones in the center?
Yeah.
You know, those are essentially look like one window, but they'll be built in like 3 different sections, yeah, so, yeah.
Some big windows and some custom work with
Yeah.
the arches.
Yep,
So, back to this uncovering the windows, so all windows will be fully functional then? Or I mean, we'll have light all the way through the window?
yes, yes.
Okay.
Now, the other thing I will tell you is, we can put a fixed window in, or we can put hinge windows that open, right? And so if it was a brand-new commercial building, you wouldn't put windows in that opened, right? Because you have a state-of-the-art HVAC system, and we want to control that whole environment. And so we do have a choice there. The difference is, I mean, for a, you know, $185,000, $180,000, it's only like $5,000 difference, you know, more cost-effective to go with fixed. So, I mean, we have a choice there too. So we can talk about that. And
Okay. Additional questions?
What is the price in here? Is it for fixed or for the hinge?
there's, the one you see is for hinged, so you just knock $5,000 off, which is strange to me because when it's a project that big, yeah, so.
Okay, well, the action requested is for the commissioner's approval to accept a proposal from Palace to replace the window. So if we accept the proposal, we're essentially gonna do the windows. And you're saying that some of these decisions, like we're gonna go with white, we're gonna go with non-opening windows, fixed windows, whatever the case is. I mean, you said those are decisions we can make later, but it seems like the decisions are here.
Sure, we
Right.
can, yeah, we can do, I'm just saying, it's like, you know, if white, and then somebody wants to put their eye on the building and say, oh, would browns look better with that brick or something. And sometimes giving choices, too many choices are a bad thing.
Mr. Chair, I think if you approve this as a not to exceed cost, then if during the course of the project, we could call it a change order, it'd be below the cost. So if that's what we decide to move forward with the fixed windows, I think we're covered at that point.
Okay.
We're not exceeding the cost that you approved.
Okay, and this is out of the building rehab fund,
Yes, sir.
and there's plenty of balance in there to cover this.
Balance in there.
Okay. Additional questions, concerns? Commissioner Campbell?
Jeff, do you have a thought on fixed versus opening yourself personally? I mean, is there something there?
You know, I've gone back and forth, Bruce. I mean, I think that the ability to open is kind of nice, right? And then, the only thing that I need to verify, and I talked to my architect, but the window guy says, hey, I think in a building like that, you might need, from an egress standpoint, windows that open. Well, My architect said, no, you don't. I had him over there and looked at it, so we're good. So, I mean, I think it's just a matter of, if we continue to improve the HVAC systems, which we probably will, I mean, right now there's essentially 3 separate systems. So it gets a little bit, goofy and they fight each other a little bit, but, I don't know. I mean, again, it was a brand new commercial building, you put fixed windows in, you wouldn't do it. I think windows at opening are fine. I mean, as long as we don't, there could be, the other thing you think about is maybe a security issue, but I mean, these are locked windows, they're up to date, up to code windows, all that. So, if it were me, I'd probably put fixed windows in there, because then you can control the environment.
Somebody won't leave a window open and.
Yeah, I mean,
Somebody's
there's
hot, somebody's cold.
human error,
somebody's,
right? There's always that chance for human error. So I think, again, as we continue to build and make the building, better on the heating and cooling and all that, and then you have CO2 sensors and all that stuff, I think it'd be better, you can control that environment and keep it better with fixed versus the openings.
No, I think
I
this
would
is,
think so.
I think this is a good first step moving forward. I agree with fixed windows as well. Just take that whole equation out of there, people opening and closing windows.
Yeah.
So if we're gonna renovate and continue, I think at last check, we had about a $950,000 approaching $1 million investment in this building, so we might as well make it usable. Something going forward can be a benefit to the county, for county offices, employees. So I'm in agreement with this. So additional discussion? Doster?
Just to push back a little bit on the fixed, I think I like the idea of the not to exceed amount and think about a little bit on those fixed windows. Because when you stand in some of those offices, particularly like upstairs on the employee lounge area, which is a cross-directional, and it's upstairs, nobody's gonna be scaling that building to go in that window. It might be of benefit to be able to open a window. And maybe the 2 nice offices in the front, they have their own bathrooms. I mean, I don't know. It takes standing in the room and looking to see whether it's of benefit to me. But
Yeah, not to convolute it, but you could certainly have that option if you wanted some upstairs or something that, that people couldn't have access to. The restrooms are gonna be they're not gonna be a window you can look out, right? Because you don't want people looking in. They're a different type of window. So, but again, from a cost perspective and in approving the thing, that's not gonna make a difference right now.
Okay, are you comfortable with the 182,095.67 as a not to exceed cost? Or
I
do we
am.
need to put,
No, I'm comfortable with that one, yeah.
so no contingent required in there? Okay. If there is no additional discussion, the chair would entertain a motion and recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval to accept the proposal from Pella to replace the windows in the FOC building at a cost of $182,095.67.
I'll make that motion.
support, Doster?
Okay. Motion by Tunison, support by Doster, to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval to accept the proposal from Pella to replace the windows in the FOC building not to exceed $182,095.67. Additional discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you.
Jeff. Good work.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Next up, Jim Yarger. I know you came in. I saw you somewhere.
And I sat behind the post, you couldn't see me.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Have before you the fiscal year 2024 EMPG grant agreement. This will bring in $16,399 to reimburse a portion of the coordinator's salary. It is about half of what we've been getting. There's some cuts at the federal level that dwindled down to the locals. There's been some pushbacks. Yeah, we'll see where it goes, but.
Really? So this is half of what it was last year? Is this
Well,
yearly?
actually, last year it was, unbeknownst to some of us, it was halved last year, but the state supplemented it with ARPA funds.
Okay.
So it actually ended up being more than what we usually got. And then they said, well, yeah, but we supplemented it, and so this is where we're at now, so.
Okay. This is a standard agreement that we do every year for
Yep.
this grant?
Yep. So, yeah, we do the work agreement, and then at the end of the year, we get the grant agreement for the funding. They used to do it, they used to push the grant agreement out first with what the feds had projected they'd give them. Well, they got bit in the hind end a few years. They didn't get all their money, and they'd already promised it to the locals, so now we do it once they receive the funds. That's why it's so late this year. Once the state gets the funds from the feds, then they push out the grant agreement.
They like to run behind in this business anyway, so.
Yeah, we're a little better at the grant cycle. I remember when I first got this job, we would run like fiscal year 2002, the 18th quarter, because they kept pushing things back so far, and it's like, so then you got like 4 grants open, and you're trying to remember which one's which, and but we're only about a year and a half behind now, so I'll take that.
Amazing, amazing. Questions from commissioners? Mark?
I just didn't understand this one paragraph. On page 2, under the amount of the award, it says Berry County has awarded $16,399 or 11.4%. Is it whichever is less, or is it?
It'll be the $16,399, so. They've already got the paperwork. I don't know why they put that in there, because they've already got the paperwork and know what you spent on wages when they put this out.
I see.
So it's always, there could be that one oddball, but it's always been the amount that's written in there that we receive, so.
Okay. Additional questions? Commissioner Getty?
The reduction in the amount, is that gonna affect your budget allocation? Is there a budget amendment that needs to be
I
established?
don't know where Michael left that, to be honest with you, because we talked about this before he left. So he didn't think that it was an issue, so.
Okay.
So I'll pick that up with Eric and see what.
Okay. Additional questions? All right. Hearing none, the chair would entertain a motion to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of grant number EMC-2024-EP-05005, State of Michigan Fiscal Year 2024 Emergency Management Performance Grant Agreement, and authorize the County Board Chair and the County Administrator to sign the grant agreement.
So moved, Doster.
Motion by Doster, support by Smelker. To recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of grant number EMC-2024-EP-05005, State of Michigan Fiscal Year 2024 Emergency Management Performance Grant Agreement, and authorize the County Board Chair, the County Administrator to sign it. Additional discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. Good morning, Eric.
Morning, Mr. Chair.
You've run into some really interesting things in your first month or so. So, just
I
continue.
have not been bored at all,
I
shall we
was gonna
say.
say.
I think Michael saved them up for me, just so I
There-
wasn't bored
you
being
know,
a,
speculation, absolutely.
I think he owes me one or two, but that's all right. Good morning, everyone. In front of you, we have an issue regarding how we set the salaries of our chief deputies. This is it's not a clear issue, shall we say, from our standpoint. There's multiple issues that we need to address. This was brought up to us by the Register of Deeds, who heard about it I think her chief deputy heard about it at a conference, brought it back, and what's funny is our attorneys are the ones who've been writing articles about this in county magazines, but still had not brought it to our attention. So Law and I were a little flummoxed, shall we say. But really the crux of the issue is the chief deputies serve at will to the elected officials. And we're talking 6 positions here: treasurer, clerk, drain commissioner, sheriff, prosecuting attorney, and registrar of deeds. So their chief deputies are the 6 people who were impacted here. The interesting part for us is 4 of these 6 actually are union employees. But by statute and Constitution, they serve at the will of the elected official. So that's one of our issues, is that typically union contracts, they're not at will. There's a process that you have to do, but right now by Constitution, either of the 6, if Cindy got mad at Sarah tomorrow, sorry, I always pick on you. You're just in the room. So that's, Cindy could say, Sarah, you're done. I mean, at will. But right now, Sarah's in the union. So that's an issue. Our attorney's reaching out to the Courthouse Employee Association to discuss releasing those 4-ish individuals. If they don't agree to that, there is a process we can take to the state to get that moving forward. So that's one issue. That being said, I had a meeting with the elected officials last week. They didn't think it would be an issue with the Courthouse Association, especially when you're talking about the Constitution and statute. But I don't have a clear answer for you on that one right now. Second issue, we have, because they're union employees and the non-union employees we have, there's a set scale. So as they move forward, I'll take the prosecuting attorney, for example. Chief prosecutor's been here forever relative to the term. I mean, we're talking this last term, so 2021 forward. If he were to leave today, from now until the rest of this term, we would have to pay his successor at the same rate we paid him. We couldn't reduce the pay for the term. So we have that issue with the Sheriff's Department right now, where Under Sheriff Sixbury left. Under Sheriff Erb has to be paid for the next 3 months at the same rate under Sheriff Sixbury was paid, even though Jason had been here a lot longer and was at the top of the pay scale. When it comes to the new term, you can reset that salary. So Under Sheriff Erb right now is making 90-something in January. He'll go back to what he was supposed to come in at. You have that ability. The same with you have with the elected officials, the same we have with yourselves. At the start of the term, we can change those numbers. So that's the second issue. And really, from the standpoint of the chief deputies, we should set their pay annually like we're doing with the elected officials, same time we do it. And at the same thing, we cannot reduce their salary. So even if somebody comes in new in the middle of a term, we can't go back to like a first-year rate. So really, from a pay scale issue, we can use them as guidance. But Llewellyn and I were looking at it. We don't think we should necessarily use that as the whole decision on when we set pay scales, because obviously, when one person leaves, that changes the whole mix. We can't go back to year 1. So that's where we're at right now. We put together 4 scenarios for you to consider on setting the pay for the chief deputies for the next term. Well, let's say 2025 as a start. And we made a recommendation of which one to use. So I'm happy to answer any questions on that, but my hope was we'd have an answer today from the union. I don't have that answer yet. So without that answer, I'm not asking for a recommendation today. I guess after thinking about it, we have time to set this. I would have preferred to have set this before the budget, but we'll just do a budget amendment when it comes down to it. I think we're gonna have to do that anyway, with all the other changes we've made since I started. But to bring us up to make sure we're following the Constitution and statute, I think this is a change we need to make.
Other counties have been following this statute?
Well, they're in the same boat. There's some that have been following it, and there's some that, like us, just find out about it and go, okay, we need to figure out how to adjust. It had been brought up before, and I think Mike was hoping to get through the term and start over with the new term. But we're not in a position, we know about it now. I don't think it's an issue we can delay. I mean, we're setting pay for 25 anyway. we have to deal with some other issues with back pay and other things like that, potentially. We're waiting for a legal opinion from the attorney, at which point we'll bring that to you for discussion.
And I saw in the notes, I mean, these are obviously well done with the scenarios, 4 different scenarios, various amounts of compensation. I noticed the percentage are substantially different based on prosecutor at 77, undersheriff at 88. How did we arrive at those percentages?
So there was a wage study done, I believe County of Marquette, that Luella had, and they looked at the pay difference between those chief deputies across the counties. And this was the average of the difference between the sheriffs, undersheriff, prosecuting attorney, chief prosecutor, and so forth. We adjusted it slightly to have no chief deputy making less than 70% in proposal 4. So the lowest paid chief deputy makes 70% of what the elected official made. Obviously, with some of the other ones, prosecuting attorneys are tough. So that would typically be paid a higher percentage just because we're having a hard time finding just assistant prosecuting attorneys, let alone chiefs and other.
Okay, so with your research that you've done throughout similar counties throughout the state, you're coming and saying that scenario 4 basically represents the best case with the electeds and the deputies, first deputies of the electeds in that.
I think it's the most, I think it's the most fair and equitable approach for all incurred on this one.
Okay. Okay. Questions from commissioners?
I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So I'm having trouble understanding where this issue, how did this start? Did this come federally, from the state? Did this come from a judiciary, just through internal review? How did this, it's always been there, I assume. How did this suddenly start happening?
I can't tell you why it started, Commissioner Colleton. I can tell you that at one point, the chief deputies, the elected officials, they agreed to put them in the union. Whether that was the correct decision or not, I would say it wasn't, especially considering the at-will status. I think it was just something that a lot of counties didn't know, which I think is the interesting part for us is our attorneys do a lot of the, county the MAC attorneys for a lot of things. They're the registered of deeds attorneys. They serve that role for a lot. So as they're doing education around and writing the articles for the MAC newsletter and things like that, they're bringing up these issues. Just people miss it. And when it is caught, you have to rectify it. And I think what happened is, Barb was at Emily was at a conference, brought it back to Barb, Barb brought it to Michael, and I inherited it. And when we're looking through it, and my approach is, if we know something's, first of all, not legal technically, against the Constitution, against statute, we need to rectify that as soon as we can. Now, would I love to just to say, yeah, it's no big deal, let's put it off until we get to the new contract, new bargaining contracts? Sure. But if a chief deputy wanted to make an issue of it, I think we would be on the losing end. So I'd like to rectify this come January. And then the other issues that I've already mentioned, we'll discuss as soon as I have a legal opinion from our attorney.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Commissioner Doster.
I'm sorry. Could you explain the 4 scenarios?
Yeah, sure. So your first scenario is if we didn't change anything, they were paid on the union pay scale. So of the people that are in that position, approximately where they would be in January. The second scenario would be the pay scale if they were the non-department head.
Pardon?
They were the non-represented pay scale, so we have the union pay scale, and then we have the non-represented department head pay scale. So that would be as closest as it would fit on there.
Okay.
The third scenario is based on this compensation study that Luella had that showed the difference in percentage of elected officials' salary to the deputies, truly on the study. And then we took a 4th scenario and kind of, massaged it a little bit
It's a compromise of
yeah.
some sort.
Yeah. We tried to find something that wasn't a $20,000 hit to the budget, and still provide a competitive wage for our chief deputies. So, I mean, we're still looking at a $10,000 increase over what we expected to pay the chief deputies, or what was budgeted, shall we say.
And all of the deputies would, under that fourth scenario, all the deputies would receive a raise except the undersheriff?
Well, the undersheriff, that's the unique one because, as I mentioned, Undersheriff Erb just started. So he is being paid at where Undersheriff Sixberry was being paid. So when we budgeted, or when Michael and Luella budgeted 25, because thankfully that was one thing that was done when I got here, I was like, sweet, don't worry about that. They budgeted it at the one-year rate. So they anticipated it going down. Go ahead, Luella.
Jason was still employed, so to speak, when we did the budget. So it was budgeted at the
Yep.
top of the scale. The new undersheriff came in October 1st. So we're now paying him at the top of the scale where Jason was. But come January, you can reset that anywhere you want. And if we reset that to the one-year step on that pay scale, which is where the sheriff had intended to bring the undersheriff in, that's where you see the reduction from the amount that was budgeted. So he's not necessarily getting a pay cut.
Right.
Only if you consider that he's getting more the last 2 months of this year than he will get. But he's coming in as a new employee, you know.
Right.
under
Okay.
our-
And he's came in under a contract that, I mean, he anticipated that he would be set at the one-year salary.
Yes.
When he took the job.
Yes, that was what he was offered.
That is what he was offered,
Yeah,
so.
but because of this whole term situation, I let the sheriff know that we had to pay him for the next 3 months, because he started beginning of October. In October, November, he had to be paid at the higher rate.
Okay.
And obviously, sheriff's like, oh, he'll be happy to hear that, but, I mean, I told him in January, we're going back to where you were bringing him in at.
Okay. Additional questions?
I hope not to have another issue like this to come to your attention, but I mean, it is in the realm of issues, this is not huge, and we can resolve it and move forward.
Do you want a recommendation to go forward with this, tentative, or?
That was the question. We've set the salaries for other electeds, including commissioners, for 2025. Do we want to set this contingent upon acceptance from the union? Do we want to, approve this as written and adjust on the fly as need be?
I think if you accept with contingent, or make a recommendation to the BOC to recommend adoption of, if scenario 4 you're comfortable with, upon acceptance from the union and further information from the county attorney, I think that will cover us. I don't see any other red flags or surprises coming on this one, but that just gives us a little bit of cover.
Okay. Seems like this could have a few twists in it, but we'll see where it all goes as we work through the union and the attorney, so, you know.
Yeah, we had a few twists from the start of this, so hopefully no
Yeah.
more.
Yeah, it's been entertaining, so.
Yeah.
The chair would recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval. The chair would entertain a motion to recommend to the Board of Commissioners to set the salaries of chief deputies of the elected officials as required by statute using scenario 4 and approval of county attorneys.
So moved.
Make enough, does that make enough,
That was contingent on the union and our attorney's acceptance, is that what you said?
we can say that,
Oh, I-
contingent?
Sorry, I didn't hear it.
We're doing it on the fly.
Okay.
So moved.
Contingent on
Support.
the attorneys and the union
Yep.
acceptance.
Are they usurping our motion and support?
I thought so, but I didn't even.
Oh,
Sorry.
I didn't put anybody's name on it yet, so. To recommend to the Board of Commissioners to set the salaries of chief deputies of the elected officials as required by statute using scenario 4 contingent upon acceptance of both the attorney and the union. Are we okay with?
The left side of the table.
I will support that. I mean, I will move that.
You'll move that, so Getty is gonna make the motion. Who is gonna support it?
Smelker.
Smelker, okay. All right, additional discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is approved. Thank you. Interesting stuff. Next on our agenda, limited public comment. At this time, any member of the public wishing to address the board may do so for up to 3 minutes.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak again. I'm Rick Moore, current chairman of the Tentative Trail Association. And we're having a walking tour of the trail in Nashville at 5 o'clock and a regular meeting at the Village Hall at 6 o'clock in which we hope to inform the village folks of Nashville concerning the trail, its history, and what we have planned for the future. Years ago, they used to chase me out of the VFW parades with their wooden rifles and stuff. And I always thought it was amazing. Look how fast these old guys can run with that wooden rifle. And why do they expect to outrun me on my bicycle? Well, now that the trail has been paved, even the people who threatened my life years ago love the trail. And I went to a garage sale right after it was paved. I wore my Trail Association shirt just to see what grand reaction I got. They love the trail. They wanted me to build little trails from their back porch to the paved section of the trail because they're old and handicapped now. But if they had been riding their bicycle for as long as I have, they'd be in better shape than me. So it's very wonderful, the change in attitude of the people in Nashville concerning the bicycle trail. Because while the most of the residents love the idea of the trail, 67% of the property was rental property at that time. And so the landlords were suspicious because they didn't want their taxes going up. If the trail was so popular that everybody wanted to move there, they were afraid of taxes going up. Well, no, it didn't happen. It's a wonderful situation. Even though things didn't go exactly the way I wanted, I always liked to be a benevolent dictator on the trail. Some people have encroached on the trail a little bit and some a lot, but it is so wonderful to have asphalt down on the trail so young mothers and their children can go up and down the trail safely. Handicapped folks in wheelchairs can go up and down the trail safely, and they can get their village just a little bit better and have a safe route to school. So hopefully we'll be able to convince Eaton County to pave their section of the trail so it can continue on to the high school. And yes, I am working on that as well. So thank you very much for the opportunity to speak, and I hope to see all of you there on the trail at some point or another, because right now it's as cold as it's ever been since April of this year. But it's good to go for a walk, because as the Blue Zone Group and the National Geographic will tell you, just one 20-minute walk in the woods is medically provable to have benefits for the next 4 days. So let's go for a walk in the woods, and thank you for the Creator for all the wonderful work that has been done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rick. Additional public comment. It's going to be tough to top that, but go ahead and try. Hearing none. Commissioner comments. Commissioner Tennyson.
I'm good, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Campbell, welcome back.
Yeah, I just got a couple comments. Slow down and be real careful around knives.
Nice.
Oh, that's all I got.
Is that what happened?
Is this experience talking?
Yeah.
Bad experience at that.
Vice Chair Hatfield.
Two things I'd just like to mention. Attended the Hastings City Council meeting last night. I appreciated the fact that Commissioner Getty and Eric were both there. A primary item on their agenda was looking at the incentives that are available for the Royal Coach property. Those both passed unanimously, so big step forward in terms of continuing to address the housing shortage that we have in the county. Second of all, you will all be receiving an invitation to the annual Economic Development Summit that's put on by the Economic Development Alliance. I would strongly encourage you to attend. They've got some major strategic plans to unveil at the meeting this year. As you know, the county has provided a significant share of their financial support over the last decade, and I think if you look at how their program has grown and evolved, it now is truly impacting the entire county in a very, very positive way. The amount of grant money that they're bringing in here is extraordinary. They're also having a major impact on internet availability, housing growth. They're just doing, in my mind, a great job. But they're at the point where if they're to sustain this, they need to grow that organization. And at the summit, they're going to be laying out a plan as to how they would see doing that. And yeah, they've got a number of individuals from the private sector that are stepping up to help them with a significant fundraising initiative that will both provide them with some capital funding to immediately address some facility issues, as well as provide a larger ongoing operating budget to fully staff everything that they're doing. So I think it'll be a very interesting, but also a very important meeting, and we should certainly be, in my mind, significant cheerleaders for that, because it will leverage our dollars to a much greater degree than what has been true historically. So,
Interesting. Is the Royal Coach project approved? Do they have conceptual drawings? I know this is going through, this is going through the city.
Yes, this is all going through the city. There's no implications for us on this, but yeah, there were a couple of different, a TIF program and then a commercial redevelopment funding from the state that also has property tax implications for the city. So it's now been approved by everybody that needs to approve it, with the exception of the Hastings Downtown Development Authority, and they'll be looking at it, I think, Thursday of this week.
Okay. And this TIF will not be coming to us. This
No.
is all done through the city.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
Right.
Perfect. Keep us updated on that. I know they're talking about childcare center and
Yes.
a food
The food market.
food center.
Actually, Catherine's been more involved with those plans than I have, so maybe you want to toss in a comment or two.
Okay.
It's an exciting project. The addition of the daycare unit in the food hall, I think really makes that, elevates the community element of that building. We have a high need for daycare, specifically infant daycare in the county. We have a daycare provider that's very interested in the building and has helped developing that out and designing that space. The other part would be a food hall with a consignment style market for local produce.
Okay.
So commercial kitchen, teaching kitchen, working with the high school culinary program. So it's quite a project.
Wow. Interesting.
And as part of the requirements for the TIF financing. Some of those units will now be affordable. There's 100 and...
Seven?
Pardon?
127 total
units,
yeah.
units, of which 29, I think, will be
Okay.
under the affordable
Workforce?
guidelines. Workforce,
Okay,
yes.
perfect.
So,
Interesting. Anything else you want to add, Commissioner Getty? Under Commissioner comments?
Oh, I got a list.
Do you? Okay.
Echo Commissioner Hatfield's excitement about that project. It's not only just housing unit, it's a beautiful addition to the city of Hastings. The design, the nod to the historical relevance of that site is really gonna be a beautiful development. A whole
Hopefully.
promenade coming over from where the plaza is on the pedestrian bridge. They've really done a nice job in design.
hopefully step one in a long-term better utilization of our river frontage as a true community asset.
Mhm.
So,
Yep.
gotta start somewhere, and this is a great way to start.
So they're going to utilize like a trail or a walking path across the bridge to downtown?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Actually, the way those buildings are laid out, the continuation of that bridge path is kind of the focal point through the center of that project. So,
Nice.
you know, that walkway will not only be very accessible to the residents of those apartments, but also to that whole neighborhood. So it will enhance that substantially and hopefully increase the neighborhood utilization as well as be of value to the residents of those apartments.
Fantastic. Anything else?
So the Berry County Parks Board has an input session on our update to our 5-year rec plan tomorrow night, Wednesday, 6 o'clock at the dispatch, 911 dispatch room. So every 5 years, we have to update that plan to continue to be eligible for state grants. So love to see anybody out there for input, either commissioners or public. Echoing Rick's excitement about the Nashville Trail. It's this close to being completed. We were waiting on some utility and cement work. But I encourage the commissioners to get out there and see what that ARPA dollar investment did in the village of Nashville, Thornapple Manor, and behind Berry County Christian. Those projects are real close to being completed, but very much usable now. So get out and see it. It's something I think we can all be proud of.
Fantastic. When are they starting on Metcalf Lake?
So we're out there working now to improve the parking area and did some clearing so that the sight distance coming in and out of the entrance on North Avenue, on Baseline. North Avenue is a more complicated project, but they're putting in the parking lot now.
Awesome. Thank you. Commissioner Smelker?
Attended Thornapple in Freeport last night. Thornapple was very regular, a quick meeting, and Freeport had 2 trustees move out of town, so they had to replace, and they appointed two people to fill their seats. And that's about it for me.
Okay. Commissioner Carlton?
So this week attended my 2 villages, Nashville and Woodland, and it's that time of the year. Both of them are making similar decisions on Halloween trick-or-treating hours. Nashville, it's going to be 5 to 8, and in Woodland, it's going to be 5 to 7. First leaf pickup in Nashville is going to be on the 23rd of this month. First leaf pickup in Woodland will be on November the 1st. Catherine came out and gave an update in Nashville on how we did at the community garden for the first year. The village has been very happy with us and has given us another 1,000 square feet to expand the size of the garden.
Wow.
It's now at 2,400 square feet, so it'll be like 3,500 square feet. So that's gone well.
You're gonna need a plow before you know it.
You have to start planting corn.
Yeah, maybe a combine or something.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Commissioner Doster?
Are we planning as a group of visiting the jail then at Coldwater here?
I just seen that on the emails.
Yeah, Eric has some good connections down in that area.
There was a SMART regional county meeting.
Okay.
Is being set up for the tour of the Branch County Jail on November 4th, I believe it is. So if you're available for that, you can do that, or we can still set up a separate one. So either way works.
Yeah, we wanted to do a tour of the jail, if we could squeeze it in this fall sometime.
Yeah, I would be willing to do a tour of our own jail prior to going there. I just thought that might be helpful in order to compare them. Start getting this thing.
Compare and contrast.
Yeah, compare and contrast.
Yeah.
That'll be
Depressing and enlightening, so, you know, but not a bad idea. Yeah, that was on the plan. That was on the plan. Anything else, Commissioner Doster? Okay.
Well, one of the things, there will not be a personnel committee meeting this month, so.
Is he next?
Sure, we
It's
put
canceled.
Bruce on the committee and now we don't have a meeting. What's up with this? What's up with this?
Good work, Bruce.
Guy's powerful, but,
Or powerless right now.
yeah, always one-handed, so we can get him right now, so, you know, but we'll see. But, and I appreciate Bruce Campbell, Commissioner Campbell. They had a fantastic community auction down there a couple of weeks ago that overran your facility pretty much all day and all night, and it took several days to set up, but it's the cooperation of the county, but in the community especially, with leaders like you who are willing to tirelessly serve and continue to do things regardless. I mean, that was a huge undertaking for you guys to pull off. So hopefully it brings some awareness to what you're doing there. Helps with what we got, the air conditioner now we're working on.
Yes,
So, you know,
we are having a celebration party out there on the 26th, Saturday night. Celebrate the completion of our $40,000 roof. A little bit of honors will take place for some of our larger donors and stuff, so. If you're not doing anything, we'll have a live band. Stranded Logos will be there for the night.
oh, nice.
And we'll be feeding people between 5 and 7.
Okay,
Should be a good event.
awesome. But Oktoberfest was this weekend. There's just a lot of good things going on that you've had a hand in most of that going on, so we appreciate you. I don't know if you brought the horses out or not, so I was just,
I did not, I was not in, I don't have those horses anymore, so, no, I wasn't able to do that one. I did
Okay.
have my wagon up there for them, I got the wagon up and they pulled some kids around on a VFW sponsored wagon.
there you go. There you go.
Nice.
And I took Rick's advice. I walked around the mountains of New Mexico for about a week, and it was refreshing, except for one elk. So everybody else had a good time. Took long enough, though. But so we missed you guys, but we will see you next Tuesday. Thanks for coming. Enjoy our beautiful little 50-degree day of stretch of weather. It should be nicer this weekend, or warmer this weekend anyway, so enjoy the color. You are adjourned.
I need a break.